There, I turned my phone off. Phone's off.
I don't have it.
Okay, welcome to the September 9th, 2019 special assessment hearing for the Daggett Bay Road. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Reese from WSN.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, City Council. Welcome everyone tonight for this preliminary improvement hearing for proposed improvements to Daggett Bay Road with sanitary sewer extension being the proposed improvements along with road reconstruction. This is a hearing that's required as part of the Chapter 429 assessment procedures that the city is following for this project. And the purpose of the meeting is to allow us to present to you what the proposed project is, what the estimated costs of the project are, what the estimated assessments may be for each of the property owners that would be abutting and benefiting from the project, and the method of assessment that was used in determining that. This is not the final hearing for adoption of the assessments. There will be another meeting that will be scheduled that would be the final assessment hearing. So tonight is informational, and it's also serving a purpose of allowing the City Council to hear your input into the project. And if you haven't signed in already, please do so. There's a sign-in sheet toward the back. And if we didn't get enough copies around for everyone, there were 6 property owners that were sent the notice, but looks like we've got a lot more people here tonight than 6 property owners. But this information is all available at City Hall, so if you didn't get something that tonight, we can get that to you during normal business hours at City Hall. So I'm going to go through the highlights of the feasibility report that was prepared on order of the City Council, and we'll just begin. I'm going to try to blow this up a little bit so we can see that a little better. Ted, I might need your help with this.
He's out in the hall.
So,
He's right in the hall right there.
Ted, can you do me
Couldn't hear you.
just to be able to zoom this up?
Where's your copy?
It's on the computer.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can get this to work. No, it's not gonna do that from here. You have to do it from that.
Okay.
I don't have that ability. Sorry, Dave.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to go with this.
Do you want this,
Why don't you just lay one on the,
On the overhead?
just hit the input?
Yep.
Is that better?
Okay.
Move it around where you need to?
Yep. Okay. First slide here that we want to review is the extent of the project, the scope of the project. The city is looking at extending city sewer from the sanitary main that was stubbed out back in around 2003 out to Daggett Bay Road. That stub ends right here, about where the end of the curb is. And the project would extend city sewer all along Daggett Bay Road to the intersection with Brook Street, where it will extend city sewer just to stub it out for the next phase going north and stub it out to the south for the next phase going south. There are, as I mentioned, 6 properties that we're including, that were given notice of the hearing. The first property here, this property here. We have 2 properties on Brook Street that would abut the improvements, and this property here. The city owns this property, roughly 7 acres. And we'll take a look at the next slide. Okay. One of the questions that people may have is why is this project happening? There's really 3 reasons. Going back to about 2010, the city did look at extending city sewer from this point to a much broader, extensive area to serve along the Daggett Channel. As with the initial public sewer project back in 2003, there was a lot of interest of protecting shoreline and protecting the area lakes and water quality from septic systems. And back in around 2010, there was a study completed to look at extending sewer all the way out to the point on the area going south along Norway Trail and all the way out to the point. It was also looked at extending it out to the townhomes down Kimball and all the way out to that point. That project was never initiated. It didn't go any farther than that study, but just to give you that background. We've also, the city has had folks in those particular areas express interest in having city sewer extended as recently as the last 12 months. I don't know if the city's actually received a petition at this point, but there's been individuals that have expressed interest in having city sewer extended. The third reason is that the city did purchase this property and is looking at building a new City Hall administrative and police department facility on the north side of Daggett Bay Road. This is the layout, and construction on that facility is proposed to start here this fall. Okay. To describe the improvements that would be made, city sewer main would be extended along the right-of-way. Off of the main, there would be services extended to the right-of-way of each property. This particular property was served during the 2003 project with city sewer, so we do not need to do that again here. However, all of the other properties would be served. So that connection point would be at the right-of-way line, and each property owner would then be responsible to connect the rest of the way to the home. The properties on the lake side here would also be served with city sewer off of these stubs. And once we take a look at how the method of assessment would proceed, we're looking at discounting the road assessment at this point. That would be assessed to these 2 lake properties in the future when the next extension projects take place. Okay, this slide gives you a picture of what the cross-section of Daggett Bay Road would be. At the present time, the pavement width on Daggett Bay Road is about 20 feet in width. It varies a bit as you go along the roadway. This is, by definition of the city's road standards, carrying enough traffic to be a major rural roadway. It feeds a lot of area and property to the east. And so we're looking at paving that segment to a 24-foot wide pavement width. The pavement width on Brook Street would be paved at a 20-foot wide pavement width. That's just a little bit wider than what it is now. It's about 18 feet wide on the north side, and it's a little bit narrower than that going south. Okay, I'll see if I can blow this up enough. This is the preliminary engineering estimate for the project. And what it includes are all of the typical construction items of a project of this type, including pavement restoration, the sewer installation, the services, and so forth. We've used the best available information we have from the most recent bids on similar projects to develop a cost estimate. And as this is just an estimate at this point in time, we have a construction contingency of 10% for a total construction estimate of $191,000 or so. The engineering, administrative, and legal costs that are involved with an assessment project, roughly $34,600, for a total project cost estimate of $226,000. Now we'll get into the method that the city proposes to use for assessing this project. The city proposes to assess both road improvement and sanitary sewer. The method that was used is based upon an appraisal opinion that was given to the city. The work was authorized by the city council, and the appraiser was Nagel Appraisers, and they provided a report to the city that gave a range of benefit value based on the road improvements to commercial property, residential type property, and also for city sewer. Okay, it's a range of value depending on acreage or square footage of property, with larger properties having more benefit in the appraiser's opinion. And the roadway assessment is also based on acreage or square footage. There's a flat rate value that was given for city sewer to property that's zoned residential. Commercial property was looked at a bit differently. It was looked at on a square footage basis. So we've tried to come up with some examples here to show you how this was applied. Okay, so The first example is property that's zoned limited commercial industrial. It's off-lake, it has direct road access. The road condition at the present time is considered fair. And just a point to say about that, the city's been looking at Daggett Bay Road within its capital improvement planning for quite some time as well. And that road has been put off for road reconstruction for several years because of the question about whether or not to extend city sewer. So at this point in time, it's been given a fair rating, not a good rating. It's seen its useful life in the city's estimation. So looking at roadway benefit, the appraiser looked at limited commercial properties, which all of the properties on this project are zoned currently limited commercial, with the exception of the 2 lake lots. Okay? So we're looking at this range to apply for roadway benefit based on square feet. For sewer, we're looking at this range. So the example that we took was one of the properties has 27,878 square feet. The roadway assessment that was considered by the Public Works Commission and recommended to the City Council is 7 cents per square foot, which is about the middle of this range of benefit value. And so the corresponding assessment for road for that property would be just under $2,000. Sanitary sewer, we looked at a value of 20 cents a square foot. That's right at the bottom of the range of value that the appraiser felt the city could consider. And that resulted in this number, $5,576. So the total that we're looking at for the assessment would be the sum of this number and this number. In addition to that, we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that the city does charge a sewer connection charge. And that's based on the city's fee schedule that's sometimes adjusted. It is reviewed annually. The current commercial connection charge is $6,500. And that's payable when you connect to city sewer. You have 12 months, according to the current sewer ordinance, to connect once city sewer is made available. All right? So looking at the total potential cost for this particular lot, assessments and connection charge, just over $14,000. And then there is the cost of abandoning your existing on-site sewer system and connecting to city sewer. That's something that we really can't estimate for each and every property because it's going to vary depending on the location of your home and so forth, the elevations. Okay, the second example is looking at the residential zoned property, the lake home sites that have direct access to the road. Again, it's a fair road. It's new sanitary sewer. So the range of roadway benefit the appraiser provided, even though we're not assessing those properties for this project, is in the $2,000 to $5,000 per home site range. It's a flat rate. And sanitary sewer benefit, $5,000 to $10,000. So we're looking at the middle of the range for the assessment for sewer, $7,500 per home site. The residential connection charge is $4,000. So in total, they're looking at $11,500 plus their cost to connect. Okay? Now, we wanted to give everyone a chance to take a look at what the assessment roll would look like. Using this methodology, we'd have the properties that would be assessed. The first one on the list is the city of Cross Lake and the 7 acres. The city's assessment, for this project is just a little bit more than $55,000 based on this methodology. Each and every property owner is listed here, the square footage, whether or not it's getting a flat rate assessment for sewer or road. And the connection charges are also shown in this column. Although these are not going to be assessed, those are not included in the assessment roll that's certified to the county. That's a separate payment. Okay. So of the total project, $226,000, the total estimated assessments and connection charges that the city would collect is just short of $134,000, with the balance being paid by the city. We'll go over the tentative schedules of how this would proceed from this point forward. So tonight, the city is receiving your testimony as the property owners in this preliminary improvement hearing. The council will have their regular monthly meeting following this hearing at 7 o'clock, where they will consider ordering in the improvements, directing the engineer to prepare plans and specs. This is on a rather quick track to get this project going. So we're looking at possibly a special meeting within the next week or two to have a special council meeting to consider approval of those plans, acceptance of a bid, and ordering the project to begin with the construction. We anticipate that around October 14th, we'll have the second hearing, which will be the second public hearing, final assessment hearing on assessments, where you again will receive notice and be able to come in, give the city council your questions, concerns about your assessments. The council will then consider adopting the assessment roll, and then in mid-November, if there aren't any changes, those will be certified to the county auditor, and those would then go on your tax statements in 2020. The city council is authorized by the state statutes to set the interest rate and period of assessment for payments. The recommendation from the Public Works Commission is to set the interest rate at 2% over the borrowing rate that the city has received. I believe on this bonded issue, which this project is included within, the bonding rate was 1.89 or 2. It's not quite finalized yet.
Yeah, for all practical purposes, it was 2%. It was just slightly, it was 1.99.
Okay.
So it's 2%.
So 4% would likely be the council's decision on the interest rate. The period of assessment recommended by Public Works would be 10 years. Just to try to get a handle on what the annual payments would be, roughly, $7,500 for the sewer assessment, would roughly be $911 per year over the next 10 years. Just to give you what that interest and period of assessment would turn out. The statute also allows people to pay their assessment without incurring any interest. That has to be done within 30 days after adoption of the assessment roll, and you would not accrue any interest moving forward. Some other points just to make to you before we open it up for your comments would be that during the construction phase, it's standard practice for us to meet with every property owner along the project and talk about where you want your service to be located. This can be a flexible item. We can put it where it will be most accessible to you to connect to. The standard practice is to bring it to the right-of-way line and put a clean-out pipe up to the ground surface and cap it so that it's visible there. And you can connect at any point along that column or at the bottom. Some cases, you may want to have a contractor look at that and see if you can connect with a gravity service from your home, as that's usually less expensive than having a pump to pump it up to the service. Following connection, questions about user charges or your monthly sewer bill. Current rate is $50 per month in the current fee schedule. And I believe the monthly charge applies every month, whether you're here or gone during the winter. That's a constant charge. So that's a common question that comes up. Okay, I think I've hit all the points that I needed to at this point. If you have something you'd like to express to the City Council, we ask that you come to the podium, state your name, your address, and direct your questions to the City Council.
Okay, it's open for comment.
Hello.
Hello,
My name
Darrell.
is Darrell Henkel, and I have the property on the corner across the street. And I just want you all to know that at this point, and nothing foreseeable in the future, I don't even have a septic system on my property. So I don't intend to pay any of this for hookup and everything else. I don't even have a well or anything there. And I realize I'm zoned commercial, but it's just my own private shop. I don't do any commercial business out of the building. So I just want to bring that before you. I have no intention of paying those costs because I have nothing to hook up to.
Thanks, Darrell.
There's two different issues, Mayor. One is the road and one is the sewer, correct?
Correct.
Is he not going to pay either?
No, that's the road. I understand that would.
Okay, he understands on the road. Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, if I may just make one statement following up that. There is a road benefit that has been described, and there is a sewer benefit that's been described. Whether or not someone connects to it or has a need for it, there is a benefit to the value of the property as described by the appraiser. So the only thing that would not apply to the property would be the connection charge. If you don't connect to it, if you don't have a on-site sewer now, then you would not have to pay the connection charge until you connect it.
Hi, I'm Lucy Thompson, and I live on Daga Bay Road, right across from where the new facility is being built. And, I got this letter from the city, which was a surprise. I didn't know they were going to be running the sewer nor do all this repair to the road. And the road is fine now, but if they're gonna be tearing it up for the city, you know, to run their, different improvements in for the building, I feel that being the road is good now, that the city should put a big share of the money to improve the road, and, because I'm the only one that lives there full-time. There's, and,
Lucy, I don't know how clear it was in Dave's explanation of it, but the city is putting in 150,000 of the 226.
they're putting in 150,000, and then it's still, what was it, 226,000
Right.
more.
So there's 75,000 shared among the 6 properties, correct? I mean, that's, the city is doing 51,000 total.
But it just seems to me kind of unfair that this sneaked up on me. I'm on a limited income, and this is really gonna put a cringe on me, and so, I don't know, I just, but of course, if you have to move or what you gotta do, but I just,
That's what we want to hear from you. So,
Huh?
that's what we want to hear now.
I'm just surprised that, that's that costly for both the sewer and the roads, so. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming up. Mr. Erickson.
I'm Dale Erickson. I own one of the properties over there, and I have a unique situation. I have a property I think is half residential, half commercial. And I think the commercial line is somewhere on the property, and I've read that makes it a commercial lot or something that can be either way. Do you know?
I don't know if I have a quick answer for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because I was told one time I was restricted on what I could do as far as developing that property. One time I got a permit to do an addition. They said, well, you're not going to do any more work on that property. I think they put that in the file, that I can't expand anymore on it. And if it's commercial property, I assume I can, you know, to expand more.
Yeah.
The other thing is I have 2 one-bedroom efficiency apartments there that I rent out. And I think the water usage and sewer usage to have a commercial rating on that would be a little unusual. I mean, because I imagine the rates to dump every month are higher also, correct? It's the commercial and residential rates for use of the system is more, correct?
It's based, the user charges for commercial are based on every 8,000 gallons. So if you have 16,000 gallons of water usage, you'd pay 2 times the standard rate of $50 per month.
So that'd be based on, would I put a water meter in, or what would I do?
Yes.
All right. And I guess the other thing is, would I get 2 assessments, since seeing as I have 2 one-bedroom apartments with no ability to expand? Plus, my septic system is 5 years old. It's newer, and I'm kind of shocked that I have to, you know, had to upgrade that, and now I've abandoned it. So, are there any variables that can apply here, like to certain properties? Are we all going to stick by that 1-year hookup time and that's it? Or can I wait for it to fail and then hook up, since it is 5 years old? No.
Yeah, you're not alone, Dale.
Yeah, I know,
mean,
I
there's
know,
all kinds of
and I'm
properties
sure,
like
and the
that.
other, I have a couple of other questions. Number one is, why are we stopping at that T? Why aren't we going all the way around right now and increasing the size of this project and possibly dividing it amongst more properties and possibly getting the price down because of the large size of the project?
I don't know that
The
it
smaller
would.
projects are usually cheaper than, or more expensive than large projects by square foot.
Dave, is that
I'm not an
right
engineer.
at all, or?
Generally, that's true. You get better pricing with a bigger project by scale. This, one of the reasons the city began looking at this method of assessment is to look at it more in the spirit of the Chapter 429 statute, which it says the city needs to apply the benefit value to the property, not necessarily the cost of the project. So that's why the appraiser was brought in to help determine the benefit value of road and sewer.
And that would carry, whether it was a big project or a little one or whatever, that'd follow through.
But it seems to me that the only reason we're doing this is for the city hall, and that's kind of obvious. I mean, and you'd think that the city could pump out to that line that's already there. Put a lift pump in and pump it out there without doing any of these improvements.
I'm going to
Sewer
kind of,
improvements.
can I add to that?
Sure,
I mean, I think initially we were going to do it just to City Hall.
yeah.
But beyond you guys on Brook Street and out on Daggett, there is some interest in expanding the sewer out there, so this would be the first leg of
Well,
it.
why not include it right now? Why not
Well,
include it
because our
in-
plate's
in-
pretty full.
What?
Our plate's pretty full. We got a lot
You're
of,
spending money foolishly because you could hook up to that sewer that's there existing already. And then at the time of expansion here, you could go down the road both directions, assess more people. The cost of the project would be less, as he just stated. And, I mean, not less, maybe less per site. And it would make more sense. It doesn't make sense to me to assess all of us and bring us all into this issue when you could have a lift pump and pump it to what's already there. And that's, because it seems to me like we're just getting penalized because you guys happen to buy the property next to our properties. Down, could buy it somewhere else, then those people get assessed, it's because the city wants to put a building up, we're getting penalized.
well,
Because it doesn't, I don't know about the water quality and why you're doing city sewer, but I would assume it's for the lakes. And I have 300 feet to the lake from my septic system. Darrell has no septic system. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not affecting the lake, I don't think. I'm not an engineer, I could be wrong, maybe we are, but it doesn't seem like we are. If you're on a lake, you're much closer to the shoreline, and those are the people that should be involved in this also, because that's what you're proposing here, is to clean up the lakes. We're not doing it here, we're getting the city hall in is all, and getting city hall sewer hooked up.
so the other alternative would be to improve the road to the driveway to City Hall and stop it right there and put the sewer there.
I'd say not. I would say the road, I think you could drive around the city and find many roads in worse condition than that road. Many roads. Not that I don't think it needs repaving, it possibly does, But, and no, you obviously have to dig in a sewer if you're gonna do the road, that makes sense. But we're improving the road again for the city hall, Because there's a lot of roads around town that need worse than that road, Just, it's just my point, so it doesn't sound, and I'm not gonna be here the 12th, so I can't, I was trying to understand that one part. You said that the council brings this up and you can present your case to the council as far as what you'd be charged, correct?
Correct.
And that's on the
Final
12th.
assessment.
And that's on the 12th.
It's a tentative date that we're looking at in
Okay.
October, October 14th.
I'm in Florida, I'm in Congress, so how do I represent myself there? How do I do it?
Well, you can submit in writing to the city council
Okay.
any questions or objections to your assessment, and those would be considered then.
Okay. And how about the fact that my septic system is only 4 or 5 years old? Are you gonna force everybody when you put sewer in to hook up, no matter what condition the septic's in, to improve the water quality? Is that it, the lakes?
That's the way the sewer
That's the logic anyway?
ordinance reads, yes.
seems wrong.
There is a Public Works meeting maybe before you leave that you could go and voice your opinion at that too, because.
Another thing, my property is used as a, as I was told by city employees many times, they use that for drainage, the roads, that they expect that I can't develop that corner because the road needs to drain there on my property, because it's a low point. And so I'm gonna get assessed for, you know, for the drainage on the road too. I'm getting assessed every year for that. If I
You mean
can't
you're-
develop it, then the road drains into my property. Because there's no sewer there. Or city, I mean.
Storm sewer.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's what this hearing is all about, so we'll
I
listen,
think you guys
yeah.
have a lot to consider when you're, I
Yeah.
mean, more, I don't know. It just seems like the city hall is driving this and has nothing to do with us needing a sewer. Down the road from me, I agree with you, down in the lots that are really small by the lake, I agree absolutely there. Probably someday we'll need sewer there. So,
Thanks, Dale.
thank you for your time.
Anybody else? Come on up.
Mike Reardon, 14089 Norway Trail. I don't live on this project, but close to it. Couple questions, because the project may come our way at some point, so I was looking at this and trying to understand it. One is, with that expedited schedule you have, you must have the advertisement for bids out right now.
This project is in conjunction with the Sourcewell Gordian Group bidding process, so that fulfills that requirement.
It does have Chapter 429 requirements. Okay, then I just have a question in general on the assessments there, and I understand the numbers and everything, but you've got some range there for the commercial, and a number was picked for the road piece and for the sewer. The sewer was on the low end, the road piece was up a little bit in the range, and then for the residential, for the sanitary sewer, it was kind of picked right in the middle. I guess I'm wondering, you know, how you came, can someone explain how you came to those numbers, what the rationale was for that? And then, as I've looked at assessments over a period of years, it seems like, because I've been a city engineer, it seems like you always get complaints over the amount of the assessment, too high, nobody likes that. But the other big one is a fairness issue and consistency. And are you assessing all the people in the city consistently or the same? And your assessment policy kind of allows for quite a bit of variation, and looking at here, you've got some variation, and I'm just wondering if you can explain the rationale, how you got to these numbers, and then maybe some ideas. Is this kind of what you'd expect to see on other projects, or maybe variation on other projects? If you could care to answer that. Thank you.
Sure. So the overall, the city is looking at implementing this method on future assessment projects. There's another project that's in its conception, looking at extending city sewer, basically from City Hall up to County Road 16. And the same type of method or methodology is being looked at to apply to that project as well. It does vary from area to area within the city. As the appraiser has explained to us, there are many different factors that they take into consideration. Location within the city, whether it's lakeshore, whether it's off lake, large acreage, high density area, whether or not it's what the zoning is, property use that's there, and how it would benefit. So the city has looked at 3 other areas around the city to try to get a sense of how that may vary. We looked at road and sewer extension down toward East Shore Boulevard. We looked at, had the appraiser give a look at Highway 66. And we looked at a few other areas, and we also had them look at specifically this project. Initially, we were looking at Highway 66 as being somewhat applicable, maybe the same type of commercial property. Could we use that for Daggett Bay Road? The Public Works Commission, probably rightly so, said no, let's have the appraiser look at this specific project area and give us benefit values and opinions for just this area. And that's what we have used here. As far as selecting the numbers that we've represented here tonight, that was a discussion that took place at more than one Public Works Commission meeting, whether or not to use something that is on the higher end perceived value to the commercial property for both road and sewer on a square foot basis, or to look at the lower end. When it came to the flat fee for the lake properties, we settled right in the middle, and that was what was recommended to the city council. So at this point, the final assessment hearing and assessment roll hasn't been set. The council needs to hear your input tonight, and they'll direct the staff to make adjustment if they feel that's due. But they have the Public Works Commission's recommendation and the staff's recommendation based on that supportive report from the appraiser. We feel that that's where we settle, so.
But to answer Mike's question, we're trying to come up with a policy of assessment that's fair all the way across the board.
Right, and I think
And it's kind of new to us,
the distinction that needs to be made too is the prior comments. Yes, a larger project, you get economy of scale. You may get a project that comes in with lower unit prices per foot of pipe installed for 10,000 lineal feet of pipe versus 2,000. Then again, this method of assessment is really based on, goes right to the heart of what is the benefit value to the property.
You said it could possibly number of us down Daggett Bay, the sewer. So was that considered?
Yeah, you really need to come up and tell us who you are. Thank you.
I'm Mike Cobes, I'm in the Daggett Bay, it's 14906. What? 14096, sorry. I just wanted to know, because we would like to have the sewer go down our way. Most of us, not all of us, and we've got information on that, and was that considered? If it would save cost, could that be something that's still possible, or are you already like, hey, this is all we're doing right now, no matter what, and we're not gonna go forward with it?
Well, I certainly don't think we're going to go forward with it this fall, going down that far. But it's one of the places we're talking about.
Okay, but it won't cost more to do it later, I guess, is what we would be concerned.
What Dave's trying to say, or to maybe say another way, is it might save the city money if you do more at one time, but the assessments are going to be the same either way.
Well, we all care about the city's budget too, or we should.
I know,
so-
but the assessment's going to, that policy is going to say the benefit's 7,500.
Okay.
Whether we do a $20 million project or a $2 million project, the benefit to that parcel is $7,500. So that's, or whatever the method, whatever the appraiser says.
No, I
So
understand that. I just
you're right,
think
we all save money if the city saves money,
That's
but
all I'm getting.
from a landowner standpoint, it's not going to change your price.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about mine, I was just.
I
that
know,
would
but just
save
to say it another way, I don't know if that makes sense,
All right,
but
thank you.
Yep, thanks.
was kind of wondering is, the sewer now, it's gonna be coming down Daggett Bay Road, like in the middle or side or whatever. But then I'm on, the gravel road. Now, when would they be coming down the gravel road? Because my connections and stuff underneath the house is to the south. So if, and of course Daggett Bay is north, I could wait until they come down the gravel road alongside me. That was my question, sort of.
I think, could she wait on half of it, the assessment, not do the hookup until they go down that way? Is that because of that unique situation? I mean,
Lucy, where's your address? What street?
Daggett Bay, 13931
okay.
Daggett Bay Road.
So, yeah, that's how you ended up on the assessment, is because of your address,
Right.
okay? But I see what she's saying.
I was just
Well,
wondering.
I see what she's saying.
but we don't know if it's going to be 5 years or 2 years, or, I mean, it's really not on the radar at all yet.
Well, I'm in no hurry to hook up.
I can answer it from one way that's been done in other cities. I mean, the assessment wouldn't change, the assessment would stay the same, but we have done connection agreements in other jurisdictions where if you're a corner lot where you could access from several different ways, we can't tell you it's going to be in 2 years or 7 years because we just don't know.
No.
Councils change, policies change, but we could record a deferred connection agreement that puts any future landowner on notice that whenever it comes down Norway, you have to connect in a year or whatever. The assessment would still be due, but you would avoid the connection charge and the cost to connect until it went down your street. No, I'm not saying we'll do that, that's a council decision, but when you can connect from more than one location, if the council finds that it's more economical or feasible to connect from a different spot, we could say that the 1 year period doesn't apply to you because it makes more sense to apply to connect on a different street. But then we'd want to record something so any future landowner knows what your situation is and that that's coming. So that is a possibility. It wouldn't change the assessment shown here would still apply because you do have the same benefit, but we could delay the connection charge possibly.
I
That's
would
a-
still have to pay that anyway.
So you'd avoid
being
the,
coming down Daggett Bay.
and if this is a policy decision, but that $6,500 connection fee, that would not apply if the Public Works and Council both agreed it makes sense to connect to a different street.
Okay,
And when that would happen would be whenever that project happened, and none of us could
yeah,
tell you that.
okay, thank you.
How you doing? My name's Tom DeQuatro. I live next to Mike. I think my address is 14082, and I have property next to hers.
Okay.
So I understand what you guys are trying to do. You want to put this police station, this town hall, whatever you're building over there. But if you're going to continue the project and put the T, I would say I think we should look at looking at opening this up to other people. Like, I know we want sewer. I understand some of these people are opposed to it, but we would like to get it down there.
Yeah.
But you guys are talking 5 to 10 years out. So at that point, I don't see a point even pushing the T out. I would just do a pump station, go to the stub, and then why force all this money down these people's throat? I mean, if it's gonna be that far out, just wait and do the whole project at once.
Well,
That's just kinda.
I mean,
what I'm
that's
seeing.
well taken, you know?
You know, I would like to see it go around and get it. You know, obviously, I have a property on the dirt road that I'm looking to put in-laws, build a place for my in-laws, and I have to put a, well and septic in. So if I could hook up, it'd be awesome. But it doesn't look like that's gonna happen anytime soon, so.
I think a neighborhood petition might bring that a little more to the attention if you guys all get together and put a petition together.
I think we got one, but I'll
Yeah.
ask them, but I'm pretty sure we put one together.
Yeah.
Just kind of what I'm looking at, and for these people, it's kind of like we're just jamming something down their throat.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Dale Erickson again on that corner lot. She made a good point, and like, for instance, my property is the same thing. my septic system is closer to the part that's not being, the sewer's not gonna hit. I would curl around my building to come out to the Daggett Bay Road, where my hookup is within 50 feet of that road that you're not developing, so in my opinion, I'd be in the same situation she's in. I can choose to hook up on either one. So I would say.
Try to go to that Public Works meeting if you can. I don't know if you're going to be around. Not the
When-
12th.
When is that?
October 7th.
Yeah,
You're gone.
I'm gone, yeah. I can write a letter. I think I can write a letter.
Write it before October 7th so the planning commission, or
Public Works.
Public Works Commission gets it.
Because it'd be more difficult for me to hook up to the road where you just stub it out versus where
Around the corner?
future one would be. Unless now you can extend it a little further so you can get that, which apparently not, so.
Okay. Thanks,
And-
Dale.
And Darrell Hankel has the same situation, but he's not hooking up, I guess, so. His property extends beyond the T the other direction also.
Okay, we got 5 minutes left here, folks, so if anybody else wants to come up. Okay, Dave, what's the next? Where do we go?
Well, the next step, as we laid out on that schedule, is that you'll have a resolution to consider whether or not to order in the project at your regular meeting coming up. So that resolution would be ordering in the project and authorizing the preparation of plans.
And we're going to talk about it at the council meeting.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll close the public hearing if there's no other comments.
Okay, let's close the
Move we
public
close.
hearing.
I move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing closed.